how I remember that house is that it had a toilet that had more pubes on it than I've ever seen on a toilet. Like every time I had to use the bathroom there, I was horrified by the amount of pubes that were on that toilet.
It was like somebody had knitted a toilet cozy
Out of pubes.
out of pubes. It was so gross. That whole house was gross. From the there was a big mysterious stain on the floor, and apparently somebody told us, not the realtor, that the old lady had died in the house and laid moldering on the floor for a long time. So,
Wow.
and then that bathroom, we actually had sort of redone that bathroom. And I don't know if Christian and Casey witnessed this horrible thing, but the insulation in the walls of that house, and I'm not even kidding, was dead mummified rats.
Oh man.
Yeah, I remember seeing there. It was really a rat king. I think it looked disgusting. It was all joined together.
Oh my God, what a horrifying place.
And I think we just like drywalled right back over it. Like, well, that all looks good.
Like Sicario.
Get some paint up there.
I have one quick story. I don't know if Adam remembers this, but you were teaching me how to edit. And I was shadowing you one day. So you're at the console that we edited, and I'm sitting kind of beside you. Then
Just out of frame.
Yes. Then that night, I stayed late and was going to edit, just practice editing. So I'm sitting in the chair you were sitting in, and then there's an empty chair next to me. So I'm working, and at one point I look over, and I see myself watching me edit for like a brief second. And then I was just like, I got to get out of here. This place is haunted. It was so scary.
You saw
like a ghost had just clocked in, and it's like, well, my relief is here. Time to go.
I guess, and the ghost was like, I guess to make him feel good, I'll make him look like himself. I don't know what happened, but it was really weird.
That's so weird.
I think so as not to freak you out, but if anything, that's even more freakier because you just saw your own ghost.
Yes.
And you're a pretty even guy.
I wonder
it's
if
not
that
like you do a
means
lot
that
of psychedelics.
somehow you're going to die in that house.
Right, yeah.
Later.
You saw a residual haunting of yourself.
If you ever
The
get
pre-haunting of McPherson.
if you get Google mapped to that house and you drive up and you're like, oh fuck, this is it. This is the day that I die in that house.
Don't go. Don't
Terrifying. Terrifying. I did get locked in that horrible booth. And I was thinking about this recently because if I today, Amber Nash, were asked to go get in that booth, I would have a full-blown panic attack. But at the time, I was like, I don't know.
get in that booth.
No, it was horrible. Because you guys would, it was
horrible.
a converted closet. Is that right?
No, it was built from scratch by a crazy guy in a van. His name I forget, but it was one of those like, oh, this guy's a colorful character. 5 seconds later, oh my God, what a racist.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Great.
Oh, yeah, because you would get in and you would close a door, and then on the outside,
We had to
another
latch
door
it
would
from
be
the
closed.
outside, and the voice actor had to lock it from the inside because it was double walled. We built it. It sounded pretty good for being like $400 worth of lumber and carpet.
Right, and in a sunroom, I think, right? Wasn't your office a sunroom back there?
Yeah, and it was technically a bedroom, but you had to walk through somebody else's bedroom to get to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
God.
also, like, to get to the bathroom, you had to walk through that person's. It was not a good house. Really.
But amazing memories were made there.
Yeah.
The best thing was we got to meet Mr. Ford because of that house, and he was awesome.
He was awesome.
Every time I drive through East Atlanta, I think about Mr. Ford.
Yeah. I would always, I remember a few times that I would come in and record for Frisky Dingo, I would be right after Mr. Ford. And he would come out of the booth and realize that he had been saying horrible things and that I had heard them. And he would be very upset as a Southern gentleman that such a young and impressionable lady had heard the horrible things that he said.
I'm glad he didn't stick around for the things we made you say. That would have just absolutely wrecked him.
So true. It would have turned him inside out. I'm Amber Nash, the voice of your favorite HR nightmare, Pam Poovey. We're doing an Archer rewatch podcast because I don't have a job anymore. This season, each episode is hosted by me and a guest co-host from the main cast. We will be breaking down fan and cast favorite episodes out of order, so get used to it. Welcome to Rephrasing. Guys, this episode, I reached out to everybody, all the guest co-hosts, and asked them which episode we should talk about. And Adam, you chose The Man from Jupiter. And I was wondering if I'm going to read the synopsis from the Archer Wiki before we get started, but I was wondering if you had any thoughts about why you wanted to do that particular episode.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds. And my power was off all morning. There's still a bunch of dumb shit happening here since the hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
So if y'all hear chainsaws or trucks beeping, or if the power goes out, it's because that's just what happens now. But the power was off all morning until like 10 till 11. So I was like, shit, I'm going to have to call Amber. I don't have the internet. And then it came on, so I sat down and power watched The Man from Jupiter, and man, it holds up.
Yeah. It really does. And so, as a Southern boy yourself, were you always a fan of Burt Reynolds from the moment that you saw him?
Humongous. And I was talking about this to somebody recently about how at least when I was a kid, probably not y'all, but a movie would come to the movie theater and leave the movie theater, and then like a year later, or maybe 2 years later, it would come on television once, like the Sunday night movie, and then it was gone, never to be seen. So I never, I was like 7 years old. I didn't get to go see Smokey and the Bandit in the theaters, but like Sunday night movie, Burt Reynolds, that was huge event for me as a kid. And we had TBS was our only cable channel growing up. Channel, I think it was 17. And I don't know if like Ted just said, whatever all the Burt Reynolds movies cost, I must have them. Because it seems like his movies were on TBS a lot.
Yeah, I think that's
like
how I saw
either
all
Burt
the
or the Braves.
Yeah, that's the same. And then when the Braves had rain delays, there would be chimpanzee movies.
Monkey movies.
Over to Bert.
So I'll read
Chimpanzee movie.
I'll read the synopsis from Archer Wiki. The Man from Jupiter is the 4th episode of the 3rd season of Archer. Burt Reynolds starts dating Archer's mom and boss, Mallory. Archer tries to sabotage Mallory and Bert's relationship while being chased by a Cuban hit squad.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Cuban hit squad. And upon rewatching, I think the Cuban hit squad was me and Pat Piper, apparently, did the voices for everybody.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of just going, Dios mío.
Was it actually? How did you guys get Bert? Was it hard to get him? How did that all did you know you wrote the episode after you realized you could get him, or how'd that all happen?
I cannot remember, actually. I think probably I wanted to write a script with him, and then probably either Hollywood agent Joel or somebody at FX said, we'll call him, or maybe like, oh, we also rep Bert. We'll just ask his agent. Mm-hmm. And they said yes. I don't think I wrote a script and said, would you consider doing this? Because I'm so lazy. I wanted to be sure he could do it first. yeah, so I think that's how that came about, was just, hey, would you do this? Yes.
Yeah, and did you always want Bert to play himself? Was that kind of always the idea?
Yeah, and that is like, a lot of times I have found, like, in Archer, because that's the only place we ever did it, but well, we did it in C Lab, I guess, one time. But some Hollywood actors are, I feel, a bit overprotective of themselves. So they're not willing to have the piss taken out of them if they're playing themselves. But Burt was all for it.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
great to hear. And so we know that all the characters were based on actual models that you guys would take pictures of. Did you guys take pictures of Bert, or would you just use what existed already?
I think it turns out there were plenty of images available of Burt Reynolds as references. Casey, you probably remember that better than me. Was it just like, oh, here's 10,000 photographs of Burt Reynolds to use?
I think you took photos of him when you went down there. So you guys went down there to record him, you and Matt.
Yes, we did.
And I think Matt went along with the camera, and I think he did take some pictures. But I think we also used a lot of internet researched pictures as well. But I don't know for sure, and I couldn't tell you if those. I'm sure they don't even exist anymore. They've probably been purged.
If Matt Thompson tried to take pictures
Is
of me
there,
with the camera he brought, I'd be like, no. Absolutely not.
Man, it reminds me of the time that Matt took
What
me
is this?
to the Atlanta Motor Inn on I-20. Where,
Oh, yeah.
Where Moreland and I-20 meet, so we
Yeah.
could take pictures for C-Lab. And I was like, these people think we're going to have sex. They totally think we're getting a room to have sex in. It was so good.
I bet it's worse than that. I bet the receptionist was like, that guy's dead. He's going to be murdered.
They're having sex, but one of them is going to be dead for sure.
Yeah. You're going to need a new set of towels in there.
Adam, I'd love to hear the story around you guys going down and meeting Bert and recording him and kind of any of the stuff that happened.
So I can't remember any other time except for the pilot. I flew to New York to meet Jessica Walter.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't think Archer would get picked up. It was like the pilot. That's it. This was a great experience. Let me get as many perks out of this pilot as I can. So I went there to meet her, and then everything else was done over the phone. Like a recording studio on one end that the talent was in, and us huddled around a speakerphone in Atlanta. Except for Bert, he's the only other person I remember recording in person, and it was totally unnecessary, and in fact probably counterproductive, because I just kept going, oh my God, that was so awesome. You want me to do it again? I don't know. So we flew down there, and I think we got down there the night before, Matt and I, and bugging his agent, will he go to dinner with us? You know what? We'll see you tomorrow. Let's everybody have a good night's sleep, and we'll see you at the studio tomorrow. So the studio was in a strip mall in Jupiter, Florida. It was super hot because it was in Jupiter, Florida, and Burt Reynolds drove up in a kick-ass all black, totally blacked out grill, Dodge Ram pickup truck, illegal tint on the windows, and the Bandit logo on both doors.
Wow.
And it was just goosebumps in the humidity of Jupiter, Florida. And he got out, and he was wearing all black, and I was like, I'm going to shit my pants. And then I just was like, the dorkiest fanboy ever. You know, like right when he gets out of the truck, it was like, so when you were filming Gator, blah, 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 blah. Hey, he was super gracious and cool. He came up with several of the funny, weird, offbeat lines in the show.
Okay.
And he would ask first, he's like, can I do a different line here? Nice. I've done it your way. Can we do another one? And one of them was, he's talking to Archer about driving, and he goes, you drive like an egg.
Yeah, I was like, did I hear that right?
He came up with that on the spot.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and they would be the worst driver possible.
Yeah, yeah. And he
He's got no arms.
Right, can't reach
What feet?
What is he doing there? How's he driving this car?
Super fragile.
Exactly. Bert sounds so good. Like as soon as you hear his voice, well, the first thing you hear is that little giggle that's so great. And then you hear his voice and he sounds incredible. Because I don't know how old he was, but he was probably in his 70s. Was he in his 70s when he recorded that?
80s, I think. Wow. He was maybe had just turned 80.
Wow.
So he, after the record, which went great, and I was just like trying to drag it out, you know, like,
yeah.
I think you need to like read the copyright information on the front page of the script, probably, just so we have it. But I got him to sign the cover page of the script, and like that's here in my office. And then we were like, so want to go to lunch or dunch or anything? And he was like, you know, polite no, but he had the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater and Museum in Jupiter. So his assistant took us to that, and just like it wasn't open like on a Tuesday afternoon, so the guy opened it for us and was like, I'll be back in an hour. And I was like, that's not going to be enough time. But all of Burt Reynolds' life was in that strip mall museum. And like his, you know, PFD vest from Deliverance, the Deliverance canoe, a broken oar from Deliverance, his actual high school letter jacket.
Wow.
A bunch of cop stuff because his dad was a cop. I don't think it was in Jupiter, but somewhere in Florida, his dad was chief of police. So there was like cases and cases of cop stuff, and plenty of smoky associated things. Just like an awesome museum. And then when the assistant came back, he gave Matt and me each a keychain and a coffee mug.
Nice.
With the Bandit logo. And on each item of merchandise, both the keychain and, this is not a dig or a slight in any way, the Bandit logo on each item gone after like one use. Like you opened my door one time and the keychain was now blank. One cup of coffee and it was just a mug.
So what happened at the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater when it was open? What do they do there?
I think they put on shows, and I think there was also like I think they would have, you know, like a 6-week run of you know, the Jupiter murder mystery or something. But I think it was also there were some it was a teaching theater, I think you could take classes there.
Wow.
Maybe not from Bert directly, but in that space.
In the Bert style.
Wow.
Surrounded by Deliverance props.
I do have one thing that I thought was the most touching thing I had ever heard from this. And it's something that I actually learned from Adam as well when I do VO recording. And I think you asked Bert, hey, is there anything you need from us as we're directing you? And he said to you, just once in a while, tell me I'm doing a good job. And it makes me almost cry.
Wow.
But I feel like it is so important, too, when just with anybody, when you're directing them, to just compliment them, because it does feel like sometimes maybe you're not getting feedback like you would as a stage performer.
Right.
So just you got to tell people they're doing a good job so that they know you like what they're doing. Otherwise, it's just, rote repetition into a microphone.
I think looking like I wasn't great at doing that, and probably overall not a great director, because I always we would do the VO, try to book it all in one afternoon and do everybody back to back, and you would just sit there hunched over the phone for 3 hours or 4 hours. And afterwards, it would be like I'd run a marathon, physically exhausted. And for me, at least, I think that was a product of actually paying attention to people.
Yeah.
Because I think normally I don't listen to, I'm just watching their mouth flap around. And when it stops, I can talk again. So it was really exhausting. But I would, if I got the line read that I heard in my head when I was writing it, and it was just great, move on. And because, just get into this robot phase instead of, oh, wow. And as you may know, as actors, sometimes, some of them like a little affirmation from time to time.
It's true. It's true. I mean, for me, it was always when I got a laugh out of you guys, they would be like, oh, thank God. But if you're doing it a bunch of times, you're not going to get a laugh every time, even if your third one's better than your first one. And I would always say, and I don't know when this started, but I think it continued through the whole time that I did them, is I would deliver a line and be like that? Every time. Was that okay? Like that? Are you going to fire me? Am I getting written out in the next episode?
Should I step out?
We're done with you for today. Thank you, Amber.
For the pilot, one other person I recorded in person was Aisha, because she happened to be in Atlanta, I think on a stand-up tour. So I was like, oh, this is great. We can record her here, and it'll save a ton of money because we won't have to, do it in LA or whatever. So I was talking to her manager, and her manager was like, okay, let's say noon, recording studio, great. She has 1 hour. And what time will the car arrive at the hotel to pick her up? And I was like, oh, I'll just come get her. And there was this really long pause, and this manager in LA goes, what kind of car do you drive? And I said, a Jetta. And there was another much longer pause. And she goes, wouldn't it be easier to send a car? But I was like, that's going to be $200. No. So we did it, I guess, at Soapbox in Atlanta. And, I picked Aisha up in my shitty Jetta. And we went over to the place, talking to get to know her. I'd never met her before. And she went in the booth. And I was like, all right, page 3, halfway down, that's your first line. And whatever her line was, hi, I'm Lana Kane. Halfway through the line, I went, all right, why don't you go ahead and step on out? And that was a really long pause. and then she laughed. But for a second, I was like, oh, I've just ruined this television show being a wise ass.
If any show could handle it, it's definitely this one. So I'm going to get into some notes that I made about the episode. And if anything comes up, feel free to jump in and I'll ask you questions or just tell you great things.
Suddenly this is a notes call.
This is finally my chance to give you some notes.
You have notes. It's too late to fix anything on it. It is what it is.
It is what it is. One of the things I wrote down, and this is kind of a general thing, is how great you are, Adam, at writing in the voice of a sophisticated older lady. And it's like, where is this coming from? I do think it has to do with your southernness, but I do think that there's a part of you that's just I do feel like sometimes you're just from a different time, Adam.
I do too. I feel like that all the time. I had all these internal rules, I guess, for the characters' dialogue on the show. And it would drive me crazy in scripts that I didn't write when those rules that I never told anybody, they were secret rules that I would get mad when somebody didn't adhere to them exactly. And like one of them was like people would turn in a script and Mallory would call Archer Archer. And I would go, why would, just lose my mind. But another one was, it was just like a tiny thing, but Mallory never said the words nobody or anybody. She would always say no one or anyone. She never used buddy. So, and then there were just other little, I don't know, little tricks to make her sound sophisticated, like neither instead of neither. And but Jessica also, like, that's just how she talks anyway.
Right. Yeah, there's a couple that I wrote down. Well, Archer says to Mallory that she's all tarted up, which I was just like, that's so fantastic. But it very much sounds like something that she would say to Lana, probably. And later,
that sounds like something my mom said right before my teenage sister slammed out the door on her way to, go drink in the McDonald's parking lot.
Yeah, all tarted up. I loved the line, Carol, go get my gray fox out of cold storage. It's just like, where is this coming from? It just puts you in this place, and it's so fantastic. I just loved it.
That is probably from Lee, my girlfriend, who lived in New York and she had inherited a couple of furs from like a great grandmother and kept them in cold storage in New York. And if she wanted to wear a fur, which nobody ever wanted to be with her when she was wearing one, like she had to take 2 subways and a bus to get to the cold storage unit. And it was like crazy expensive because it's like a refrigerator for your clothes.
For decades that you have to keep it in.
Yeah. For the life of the garment.
Yeah. But if anybody has that, I believe 100% that it is Lee. I got to go to the refrigerator across town and get my fur.
She donated them to like ASPCA to be cut up into cuddle rags for kittens and puppies.
Oh my God, that's so bizarre. It'd be like a child getting a human skin to lay on.
What is... No, you're not going to die. This person died.
A long time ago. It was a different time when that thing died.
It's a foot. Cuddle with it.
It's so horrifying. I don't know if this is the first time that we hear it. I'm guessing not, because this is season 3. But we learned about the elaborate voicemail hoax, which is so great.
I think it was the first time.
Was it?
Because it still felt fresh in that episode.
Oh, it's so good. The other thing I didn't realize,
it did make me laugh. John's read in that was just like, I think in the script it just said elaborate voicemail hoax for his dialogue, so he just made all that stuff up and the grunting and the hang on, I got it. That was all him.
That's so great. I didn't realize that it was in this episode that 2 of Pam's most iconic lines that she ever said, I didn't realize they were in the same episode. And I didn't realize that it was this one. And it's, I swear to God you could drown a toddler in my panties right now. And masturbate till my fingers bleed. Those are 2 that people ask me to say all the time, much to my mother's chagrin and horror.
Can you imagine if Mr. Ford had heard that?
The thing that always blows my mind, whenever people ask about the masturbate till my fingers bleed thing, and I love that Cheryl says, well, tape them up, is that her fingers would bleed first. That's the most horrifying part of the whole thing.
Well, sure, it's
her
all calloused.
thick, calloused fingers. Her farm-raised fingers. No stranger to hard work.
Nope.
could set a fence post just by pounding on it with her fist. Yeah, that I had never thought about it until this morning, and I was like, why would they bleed?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Horrible. It's terrifying. We talked about this, and a lot of the other actors talk about it too, that the characters change over the seasons, and we all kind of assumed that it was because you got to know us better as actors. Is that true? Or was it just kind of how the characters were evolving for you as the writer?
I think it was partly getting to know y'all, and sometimes there would be things like that y'all as actors would say, if we're all hanging out at Comic-Con or on the phone before or after a record session, and then I would just steal it and put it in for, future episodes. Part of it, I think, certainly for Archer, like I rewatched the pilot again this morning as well. Man, super mean. And at the beginning, that's how everybody had decided he's going to be a humongous asshole. And I think gradually that started because while I was writing Archer, like the characters, it sounds weird, but they're living in my head having arguments. And I think slowly that started wearing on me, like having a family that hated each other.
Inside
and
you.
Being, you're a teenager and you can't leave yet and everybody's hateful. And I think he certainly started softening to make him easier to live with since I couldn't move away from him. And everybody else, I think Mallory got a little nicer slowly, but everybody else got weirder. And then there were things like my favorite things on the show were like Pam growing up on a farm came from just one throwaway line that was a joke about cheese or something. And then it's like, cool, now Pam's from a farm. And I don't know where Cheryl being a billionaire came from, but then that was like, this is really exciting because that opens up all these possibilities. So those are my favorite things. But as there were definitely like, I stole stuff and I certainly stole phrases that y'all use in normal life. I would steal them and maybe not even give them to your character, like give them to somebody else.
A great example is Lucky's "yep, yep, yep." Ended up being a very Krieger thing.
And I think the first one of his that we used was not in the script. It was from him saying it like, "Hey, can you do that again, but faster?" Yep, yep, yep. And it's like, ooh, mark that.
Yeah, that's so great. Another great Mallory line is when she's reading the dummy note that Archer has written from Bert, and she says, "Regards, there weren't even warmists."
Warmest.
So good.
And I wanted, and I'm pretty sure I asked, and was again gently declined. But if Burt Reynolds would have been up for it, Burt Reynolds would have, been Archer's new stepdad and come to work at the agency and the whole deal. And it was like, they can have my salary to chip into Bert's salary. They can have Casey and Christian. Everybody's going to chip in for this. Amber won't get paid anymore. But he politely declined. But I was so like, he could be on the show now. Like he could be our Danny DeVito.
Yes, and he just is so great. Like he never lost his charm. Like he's just as charming and he's just as debonair and he sounds so incredible. Because I would venture to say, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, because you've heard a lot more people's voices than I have, is that not every actor is a great voice actor. And he just seamlessly slid right into being a voice actor and he sounds incredible.
That's an interesting thing. I was talking about that with somebody recently. I can't remember who. About it doesn't always translate. That on-camera actors can't automatically be good at being VO actors, and some of them are really bad at it.
Yeah.
And I will never say who, but we did cast some guest stars that we loved as on-camera talent that recorded their parts for Archer, and then it's like, let's hire somebody else and just re-record the whole thing. And then I would have to make a phone call to that person that got replaced and go, so this is, I don't know, maybe you'll find it funny. They didn't ever.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Like, I don't know what magic ingredient there is, and I don't know if it can be taught. Certainly not by me, but sometimes they're just like, they sucked.
Yeah, I think it's because you take away. I mean, they only have, you take away so many of the things that they're used to using, and then they just have their voice. And obviously, like, you still have to be an actor. But yeah, for some people, if it's not everything, if it's not everything and all the tools that they have, it doesn't work. Or sometimes people's voices don't sound great.
Yeah, or they just they sound a little flat's the only word I can think of. But I think the face is probably a pretty big tool and all the things the face can do.
Yeah.
I also feel like sometimes people, no matter how much you told them, let's just do it normal, they're like, oh, I'm recording a cartoon. It's got to be whack, then they would kind of go too wacky. And it's like, we just want you. But they could never get
Do you have a slide whistle in there? Put that down. You shouldn't have a slide whistle.
Don't bring that into the recording.
When we were doing C-Lab, Eric Estrada, who is a lovely person, he always wore these very loud tracksuits, the sort of crinkly kind.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like, hang on, Eric, we're going to talk for a second. Hey, am I hearing crinkling? Yeah, he's wearing crinkling. Somehow his shoes are crinkly. And then it's hard, hey, when you read these lines, stand perfectly still. Don't even move your head.
Because everything's crinkling. Oh my God, that's so funny.
It's like he's wearing bubble wrap.
One of the other lines that I love is Mallory is, mad because Bert's left her for a younger woman. And she talks about her small and perky breasts. And then Cheryl goes, I bet they're big and perky. Which is so good. And we all know very hard to achieve. Oh, so good. And then also the moment where we get to hear Bert give his kind of monologue in this movie pitch was that all written, or did he kind of go off and improvise some? And it was just so wonderful you hear him get lost in it.
I think I wrote that the lion's share of it, but when I was writing it, I also got lost in it, and briefly. And I don't know what I was thinking at the time. Fuck yeah, Burt Reynolds is going to be on this show. He and I are going to buy an airboat together. It'll stay at my house during the week and his house on the weekends. But as I was writing that, I got a little carried away and lost in the idea. And I was like, this actually, is this a viable, could I break into Hollywood movies on the back of Burt Reynolds? And to the point, I called Hollywood agent Joel and was like, what do you think about this? And he's like, no. And I also have more bad Burt Reynolds news for you, Adam. He's not going to be on Archer, and you're not getting an airboat together. But while I was writing that, I was like, holy shit, this could happen. This could happen.
It's so great. Also, Was Krieger's van mural new to this episode?
I think so, and I couldn't remember. I don't remember the chronology of the vans. I don't know which van was first.
Okay.
But that's one of my favorite Archer things. Was like, and on my end it was super easy. Like Rush didn't have a ton of albums, and if you Google Rush album, it's like here's pictures of all 8 of them. So there weren't a lot to choose from, and it was pretty easy to change like hemispheres into vanispheres. That's not clever. But then seeing what the artists did to Kriegerize that album cover and put it on a van, my very favorite one was the first, I guess at least the first American release of Rush. Their like debut album was called Rush.
Okay.
So that van was just called Van.
Oh, that's so good.
So the internet says that Vanispheres was the second, with Exit Van Left being the first one.
Exit Van Left. And that was like him pulling the curtain back and he's
And you see the stage
nude for some reason.
So good.
There was Van by Night.
Yes.
Exit Van Left, Van by Night, Vanispheres, Van. I don't know if we got to... Oh, Caress of Krieger.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Rush fan also. Rush and Burt Reynolds. I'm dating myself a little bit.
We recorded with Chris and found out he was a big Enya fan. That tracks.
Enya.
Yeah. Big Enya fan.
Like growing up or now or both?
In college, apparently.
Wow.
I was asking him a trivia question because he did the episode where El Contador, where they're in Colombia and and Archer talks about the Orinoco crocodile. So I started asking a question about Orinoco Flow, who had a hit before I could even get it out. He was like, Enya. It was amazing.
It's so good. We have to talk about the chase because the chase was incredible.
And so well animated too, man.
So well animated. Like it was I do love when I think Archer says, "Wait, was that the same footage?"
Right.
So good.
Every van goes in front of a moon before.
That was the kind of a joke I wanted to bring up because for a while, every time we did a night thing, it was a full moon because it's kind of, I think...
Well, back then, whenever Archer was set, the moon was full over half the time. It's only recently that it started shrinking down. The cheese is evaporating.
And there's a couple of great John Landis-esque cop car crashes where like 3 cars will stack up in an alleyway. Really nice.
The one I could have sworn that the 2 cop cars, one landing on top of the other, and like the lower cops going at the upper cops, and like their sirens are still going, but it's like a police car sandwich. I would have sworn that was from a Burt Reynolds / Hal Needham movie, but it turns out it's from another one of my favorite movies called The Electric Horseman with Robert Redford.
Okay.
Burt Reynolds, mortal enemy. Presumably.
Right.
I like when Bert asks, "Is that a ghost?"
That's my favorite line.
So good. It's so great.
He might have come up with that one actually. That one made me laugh this morning, and I don't. Well, there's plenty of stuff I don't remember writing, but I absolutely don't remember writing that. He might have come up with that one.
That's great. So we always end episodes with some trivia from Casey. But before we get to the trivia, is there anything else about the episode? Any other gems or anything else you want to talk about?
They have to leave in a car chase. Like all the colleagues are getting shot at, and they get in this elevator. that's going down super slowly, and they have this conversation about why don't you just put a fire pole in here, and they're talking about fire pole contractors, and that made me, I had forgotten that, and it made me laugh, and that was animated very nicely, because it's really hard looking back, like to show that an elevator is going down, because in real life, that's the whole point of the elevator is you don't know what's happening. You're teleporting somewhere. And, but then, like, after watching it, I was like, oh, what a funny scene. But then I was like, if the fire pole was in the garbage chute, it would be absolutely, the pole itself would be covered in garbage and like banana peel juice and cat litter. It would be terrible.
Yeah.
You couldn't have it in the same chute as the trash. Like a laundry chute, yeah, probably.
And it's just them.
But not a trash.
A couple of dudes talking about the logistics of what could happen. It's just such a great little scene that could have easily been
bitching
cut.
about co-op boards.
Yeah, it's just so great. It's such a great scene. I'm so glad that it ended up in the episode.
Oh, and Woodhouse kept calling him Clark Gable. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. I don't know how tall Archer's building was, but you know, the fire pole is usually just like a story or so, right?
It'd be terrifying.
I think minimum 12 stories. Like you would reach, your hands would literally catch on fire
That's
by
why
the time.
that's why the banana juice is on there.
Because the pole would not,
Somebody's got to juice the pole. It's too hot. Yeah, like somebody I'm sure knows, but like Katya gets thrown off the roof at some point. Like it's really high.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
The fire pole is absolutely unfeasible, non-feasible.
That's so funny to
Not
mention how
feasible.
tall the building is. That's so true. Oh, boy. Okay, Casey.
All right,
I think it's time.
yeah. By the way, Katya,
Oh my God.
the first Creaker van was when Katya fell on top of it and died.
Right.
And he drags her corpse away, right? To do
Right, yeah.
we're not sure what.
Yeah. So in this episode we had Vanospheres, but on the album Moving Pictures is a song called YYZ. What is YYZ a reference to?
Is this trivia, or do you want me to? Can I look at my phone? I don't know. Are you Casey asking, or is this trivia?
This is trivia.
Okay. Either way, I don't know.
I have a guess.
Go for it.
Is it? Because I believe it is the airport code for Calgary.
It's the
Or
airport code
Toronto?
Toronto. It's the airport code
Okay.
for Toronto.
Amber
I
with the
only know
steel.
that.
I was
because
going to
I'm
say
married to a
skipper,
Canadian.
That's YYK, I think.
We talk about gator a lot in this episode. But for gators, what is the determining factor of the sex of alligator eggs?
Penis?
Oh, good guess. It's actually the temperature of the nest. If it's below 86 degrees, all of the alligators are female.
What?
Wow.
Is that how birds eggs?
What kind of system is that?
I don't know.
So one year you could have just a cohort of all lady alligators.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they've been around 240 million years.
They know how to work
figured
it out.
In the long term, it evens out, I guess.
Yeah.
Seems like it works.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow. So if you were an alligator breeder, you could fiddle with the thermostat and get
Yeah.
lady
Well,
alligators
you probably
or boy
couldn't
alligators.
fiddle with the thermostat because your hand's probably gone from being an alligator breeder. You
Oh,
just
right.
snub it out.
Yeah.
Well, final question.
Okay. Oh, also at this point,
Am
going
I over 2 here?
no, you're going into the third round with 27 points.
Okay.
Yeah, I never knew there was points.
Yeah,
Um,
you've been getting points the whole episode.
This episode was.
I want to double them.
No, it's a true daily double.
If you get it right, you can double these points.
This episode is called "The Man from Jupiter." What are the 4 Galilean moons of Jupiter?
Oh man.
They're hard.
Shit.
Which, by the
It's
way,
not Phobos and Deimos. That's Mars.
Oh.
Fucking. Oh, sorry. Io? Is Io one of them?
Io is one of them.
Okay.
Is it Io 1 through 4?
No, they all have separate names.
Calliope?
Ooh, very close. Very close.
Callista?
Callisto is one.
Oh my God.
Callisto. Jupiter Jr.
The little guy.
and Party Moon.
The other ones are.
I also would not like to go for the daily double now. I'd like to pull my chips off the table.
You can do that.
So Io, Callisto, Europa, and Ganymede.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ganymede.
Europa. That's where we're not supposed to land, is on Europa. That's where the monolith is.
Oh, yeah. Well, Adam, you'll be happy to know
And what's
that
the
you
phrase
have.
of that famous phrase? Send no ships there?
So attempt no landing there.
Attempt no landing.
And also, by the way, I didn't know this until recently. If you have just a decent pair of binoculars, you can see the 4 Galilean moons. Because basically, just a kind of pair of binoculars is the power of the telescope that Galileo had. So if you see Jupiter in the sky, you can focus in on that and see. At first, you're going to think it's just lens flares, but there's 4 tiny dots, and they'll be all over because of their orbits, and it's pretty amazing. Their size
Didn't
also
Galileo have enormous eyeballs, though? Like, wasn't he famous for having
he was part owl.
humongous bug eyes?
Wow. Oh boy. Adam, for this episode, you have 43 points, and
Nice.
Casey, for the first time ever, because of the moons monologue you gave us, you have 132 points.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
am I in
Adam.
last place now
Yeah. You're in last place.
of the podcast?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was lucky.
No, I think-
This part of it was
I
not
think
explained to
Chris-
me at all. I think I would have been a little more judicious with my points.
Oh, I think Lucky actually might be in last place. Or Aisha. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up.
That's fine.
It's hard to know.
As long as I beat Lucky and Aisha, that's fine.
That's all that matters. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show, Adam. It was super fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christian and Casey.
Oh, my pleasure.
This has been Rephrasing, an Archer Rewatch podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at rephrasingpod. Email us questions at rephrasingpod@gmail.com. Please, no pictures of your penis. That's just inviting pictures of their penis, isn't it? Rephrasing is produced by Amber Nash, Casey Willis, and Christian Danley. Our theme song is by Matt Hobbs. I'd like to say a special thank you to Raymond Carr, Jasmine Nash, and Jonathan Strickland. And don't forget, FX's Archer is now streaming on Hulu.